Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
And welcome back to another episode of Influencers Radio. Today, we're going to talk about a problem. It's a problem that just about every successful entrepreneur faces in their journey as they grow their business. But it's a good problem to have because it means that you are growing. And that is moving from solopreneur to CEO, from doing it all yourself to building a team. And that means that sometimes you're going to have to wear some hats and do some things that you might not be used to, and that might even make some people uncomfortable. Well, if that's you, then you'll want to pay close attention to what my guest today has to say, because today I have Bonita Owens. She is the founder of the Amazing Women Network. Bonita works with ambitious women who struggle and stress with making that transition from solopreneur to CEO. And she helps them to build a team with confidence, intention, and effective communication. She is the author of the best-selling book, Who Stole My Significance? With that, Bonita Owens, welcome to Influencers Radio.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here too, because this is a big topic, and it's something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, solopreneurs, they do stress about it, and I think some of you even kind of put blinders on and try to ignore it, and they neglect making the transition because they don't like to think about all the things that are required. So I think I want to just kick this off by asking you, what do you see are the biggest struggles that entrepreneurs, and specifically women, because that's what you specialize in, are facing when they're making that transition?
Yes, I definitely see that there are things specific. I think all of these can definitely be related to men as well, but I think there are specific things that we struggle with as women based on the way we were raised, who we are as women, as nurturers. I think there's kind of nature versus nurture dynamics that happen. And in that, one of the things is dealing with the imposter syndrome. So, when you're starting off as a solopreneur, it's just you, it's just you, and everything hangs on your own decisions, your work ethic, and all of the energy and focus that you're putting into building your business. And when it comes to, and that in and of itself can have a specific number of challenges. And then when it's time to bring other people on board, I think many times it's, who am I to, now you are the leader of your company in a different way, and bringing other people on board, selling your vision to them, and being able to be that example and to communicate what it is you want them to do, and being able to give them constructive criticism. So a lot of women can deal with, oh my gosh, who am I to do this? And now I have to express what I want to people, and do that in a way that is definite and kind of sometimes, bottom line. So that's one of the things that I think women can deal with more than men, is imposter syndrome.
You said something really interesting, and I've noticed that when I talk to a lot of female entrepreneurs, and I know, sometimes it can get to be a touchy topic when you start talking about the differences with men and women. And I think it's important that we preface this, that when we're talking about different issues, it's not even I don't even classify it as weakness and strengths, because I think some people think when you talk about women feeling nurturing, because that's one thing that I have noticed when I talk to some women, female entrepreneurs, that especially in that transition that you specialize in, is they seem to have a larger sense of responsibility, personal responsibility for the people that they bring on. And like I say, I don't want to make that sound like a weakness, because to me, I think it can be a strength when you have that type of connection. But do you see that maybe they look a little bit beyond the professional level, and that innate nurturer comes out when they're making decisions on, am I doing the right thing by bringing this person on to work for me? And I think that kind of ties into that imposter syndrome. I'm convincing this person to stop what they're doing and come work for me. Am I really qualified to do that?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up about it's definitely not a weakness. I think the very innate inclination of women to nurture, it is a strength, but I think sometimes our greatest strengths can serve as our greatest weaknesses. And that's just a personality thing. I think there's just two sides to the coin, if you will. And I definitely think that in and of itself, it is, if we use it the right way and we're understanding that about ourselves, we can use that when we need to and help educate ourselves, not educate ourselves, but be more aware that, okay, where am I maybe worrying a little bit too much, about somebody's, personal well-being, or about putting too much responsibility on myself for other people's actions, or, there's a variety of things that I think women specifically can get tied up with when it comes to building a team, because we can worry so much about others. And you're right. It's like, okay, if I'm asking someone to stop what they're doing, or, quit their job and come with me, then that's a big burden, then what if things don't work out? And we can sometimes be very wrapped up into what can go wrong and feeling that burden, that weight on our shoulders, that we are responsible now for these people. And not that that's wrong in and of itself, but I think it's really like, how can you look at this in a way that's balanced and realizing, okay, this is a mutual relationship, right? So you're adding some value to that person, and that person is also adding some value to you. And it's not for us to take on the burden and responsibility for someone else in, what happens to them, what their choices are. There's so many things we can get wrapped up into as women, I think, being very worried about other people in a way that doesn't serve us and it doesn't serve them. So I think the awareness piece is so very important. That's what I really take my clients through, is being what are parts of your personality that can serve as a strength, and also, if not kept in check, can also be a pitfall in the way you lead and the way you build your team. So those are very, very important things to talk about.
Well, yeah, you said clients. Something there that really stuck out when you talk about the ways to lead, leadership, right? Clearly, that's an important part of making this move, right? Because before, you're just kind of not just responsible for yourself, but you're only accountable to yourself. And now you're putting yourself in a position that you are having other people that are being accountable to you. So I think a subset of that leadership quality that people may not be used to is delegation. Do you see people struggling with that? I mean, I know they understand their need to delegate, but do you think actually doing that is a problem for some people to face?
Yes, and especially for, the women I serve that are ambitious, they're go-getters, it's difficult for them to ask for help to begin with. And so when you're bringing people on board, being able to let go of those things that you used to doing that you think, oh my gosh, if I don't do this, what's going to happen? And realizing, okay, this is the reason why you brought someone on at the beginning, is so that you can work in your zone of genius. And what are the things that you can delegate that not only you has to do? And there's things in the business that, hey, only you can do it. And it's, you're the brand, you really need to do those things. And then there are still other things that you don't have to do and that someone else can do and maybe even do better. And I think that is a struggle with a lot of women going from solopreneur to CEO, is learning how to let go and learning how to, and delegate with confidence, knowing it's going to be okay. And if there are things that aren't quite in your line of vision, like, okay, this is not what I envisioned, then it's okay. Okay, then how do you communicate that? Right? How do you communicate that with confidence and not being afraid that you're going to hurt someone's feelings? Or sometimes I think, and that goes with the imposter syndrome, women can be like, oh, I don't want to seem mean or demanding, where, men sometimes they're just being strong and decisive. And sometimes women can be seen as being demanding, when they're expressing the same desires. And I think sometimes we can internalize those things. So, yeah, I think that's definitely one of the big issues that I work with women with, is learning to let go and learning that, hey, you are going to be much more creative and productive and effective in your business when you let go of those things that take up more of your time, then you can be doing something else and allowing other people to do that for you.
Well, let's talk about the inverse of that. So they certainly they can struggle with telling people what to do. But so if we flip that around, and I know as a man, I can kind of joke that I don't think women have this problem nearly as much as they probably do. But it's not just telling people what to do, but also being able to say no. And I know that's a big topic with you, is the ability to say no, because once you bring on a team and employees, it's not just about telling them, here's what you need to do, but it's also about saying, I heard you, but no, we're not going to do that right now. Do you see that to be just as big a struggle?
Yes. And that's one of the three. The third of the pitfall is saying no, which culminates into really what the basis of that is people pleasing. And it's very difficult, I think, for some women to say no, because we want to make people happy. We want to make people like us. We really don't want to, like I said, sometimes be seen. Sometimes we can be worried about being seen in a certain light. And when you are building a team, that causes lots of problems when you have problems saying no and creating those boundaries. And I think a lot of times I'm a firm believer that life is business, business is life. So when we have problems saying no in our personal lives, not for everybody, I can't say this for everybody, but I think more often than not, we bring that into our businesses as well. And I like to explore as to, what's the struggle here with why it's difficult to say no. And being able to help women to reframe their thoughts about no and not being afraid to say no, and giving those boundaries. And like you said, I think when you're building a team, you've got to make those decisions. And some of those decisions, someone may come to you with a suggestion. They think it's better. And it's up to you to look at, all the options and pick one. And you know what? Sometimes maybe afterwards you might think, man, I should have gone with the other one. But that's just part of the process, So another thing is with saying no is not being afraid to make those mistakes, not being afraid to make those, the wrong choices, because we can learn just as much from the wrong choices, if not more, than the right choices. So I think that's a real big struggle for many, many women and entrepreneurs is having that confidence to say no and sticking with that and learning from it. And not being worried about what people are going to think. What is your team going to think about you when you say no? And knowing that no is not a bad word. No just expresses a thought or desire, just like yes does. And so that's what I help women with, is just reframe their connotations around no. And it's not a dirty word. It's not a mean word. It's a necessary word in order for your life, personal life, to set those boundaries so that you can make choices that align with who you are and who you want to be, and to really be true to who you really are.
Well, yeah, and I think that is probably with a lot of people. No, it does seem like an angry word, or it seems like a synonym for rejection, that I think a lot of people don't aren't comfortable with. And one of the things I know you're talking about is, a lot of success is created through small shifts in attitude. Can you talk a little bit about that, about that role that attitude plays in a success or failure, or in whether a problem gets blown out of proportion or not? What are some of those small shifts in attitude that you work with women to be able to help facilitate that success?
Yes. So one of the things that I do, one of the processes and when I'm coaching, is I have a leadership assessment that I give to my clients. And one of those, one of the powerful things about the assessment is that it is an attitudinal assessment, and it really looks at how you perceive what happens to you around your world, right? So the saying that it's not what happens to us, but it's how we respond to what happens to us. And so in that, we're able to look at where are you showing up? Where do you show up normally, and where do you show up under stress? And how does that affect your relationships? And so once we can determine that, so when you're showing up, do you show up as a victim? Do you look at things happening to you, or do you look at problems as opportunity, right? And so if you're looking at them as an opportunity, then how can you use that in order to improve your communication with other people? And what I like to do is take my clients through a process of, and I mentioned it before, is reframing how we look at our world around us. And, two people can look at the same problem and approach it differently. And one person can have a lot of undue stress and worry, and which, affects the coming up with the solution. And another person can see it as, oh, let me see how I can solve this problem. And so in order to be successful in that process, stress happens. So it's not that we avoid stress, but how do we deal with that? And one of the ways is through those small attitude shifts that we can ask ourselves, okay, we all have stories. we see a problem. There's a story we're going to tell ourselves about it. It's hard. It's stressful. It's scary. It's impossible. What all of the things that we tell ourselves. And what I like to do is help my clients do that, to stop, take a breath, and ask, okay, is this true? Is this story true that you're telling yourself? And does it serve you? You know? Okay, no, it doesn't serve me. Okay, well, what would serve you? How could you think about this situation that would serve you better? What is another thought that could help you move through this crisis? And so it really is helping clients to stop, take a breath, make those attitude adjustments by asking the right questions to help them to see the problem a little bit differently, to change their perspective, and to, again, be aware of, okay, what's my default? If my default is, oh my gosh, the sky's falling, this is happening to me, okay, how do I shift out of that so that I can see it differently? And once we see things differently, then those solutions come a lot easier and a lot quicker.
Yeah, well, I can imagine so. And, I think, one thing that you demonstrate so well is, I think one of the reasons that the women that you work with have success and that, you have success in what you're doing is as a coach, there's a lot of coaches that are out there saying, and it seems like their big strength is to keep saying, you can do it. Don't worry, you can do it. You can do it. But you really go into, and here's how you can do it, which I think is missing in a lot of ways out there, because, you can do it takes you so far through pure
right.
strength, but especially when we're talking about that transition from solopreneur to CEO, I think that you can do it attitude sometimes it hurts people when they're trying to make that transition, because as a solopreneur, you're always thinking the answer is to just scrub harder, work longer hours, just do more. And, the way that you look at this is, whoa. It's not do more. It's do less by building that team. What do you see as some of the benefits of that? I mean, they must be tremendous. Do you see that there's a lot of the women and just entrepreneurs in general that sometimes maybe get uncomfortable with all of a sudden having a little bit of free time, even though it's not a lot, but by delegating that, do some of them get uncomfortable with, oh, I should be doing something. I should be in there getting my hands dirty with this. Something's wrong. I have free time.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is definitely a big struggle. And, for women that, again, I mean, most women that are, if you're going to start a business, slouch, for the most part, you're determined, you work, you want to work hard, so that you can create that vision and that success. And I think, I think our society, tells us work hard, work your fingers to the bone, and that's the way to success. And I think, for sure, making that transition to say, wait a minute, that's why I'm bringing people on, to make things easier and not harder, and to be okay. I think it's just, that transition of feeling that discomfort. And at every level, there's a different level of discomfort, and, looking at, okay, I'm feeling this discomfort because I feel like there's something I should be doing. And I have some free time, and then that feels uncomfortable because I'm not used to that free time. And what could you do with that? And I think one of the things is for us as entrepreneurs to give ourselves permission to take that breather, and realizing that that is really an important part of productivity, is taking that rest, getting that sleep, taking that break. Is actually, it shouldn't be a if I get the time, but it should be, hey, this is just as important as anything else I do, so that I can go it for the long haul and not burn myself out. And I think that's a really, really important thing for entrepreneurs to remember. To refuel, is an important part of the process.
So it's not something to be afraid of. It's something to strive for, I guess, as to get that time. Yes,
for sure. For sure.
Well, one thing I have to bring up is, we're living in a very unique time right now. We're in the middle, as we talk about this COVID pandemic. And I think, there's probably a lot of people that are in that phase of their business, that, even with everything that's going, on, there's still people that are growing. They're having success. And I think some people, almost unlike the imposter syndrome, maybe they feel a little guilt about that they're being successful during this time. But also, I'm sure it has to cause concern and make people especially cautious of, should I really be growing during this time? Should I really be, bringing on a team during this time? What do you say, or what do you do to help people that are struggling with that decision, or even guilt, or about thriving during this time of uncertainty, and how do they get through that?
Yeah, so we're all going through some sense of, uncertainty, no matter whether your business is thriving or not, right? Even if it can be even just your own personal health that we're dealing with in this time of a pandemic. And when it comes to, I think even when it started with entrepreneurs even feeling guilty about continually to offer their services in this time, thinking, oh my gosh, there are people who, are going through a tough time. Should I even, be putting my services out there in this time where, there are certain people struggling? And what I say, to entrepreneurs is, you have something of value, and just like any other time, one of the things that I did a talk right before COVID about thriving in uncertain times, and at the time, of course, I had no clue that what we were going to embark upon. So it was really kind of eerie that I gave that talk before the pandemic really hit. And what I realized is that times are always uncertain. It's just that there are certain things that make us more aware of how uncertain they are. I mean, even before the pandemic, we get in our car, we go from point A to point B, and the fact of the matter is some people get in their cars and they don't make it to point B. And I think there's things that we just don't think about, that life in and of itself is really uncertain. But there are just things that remind us, like a pandemic, of how uncertain they can really be. And so in that, it's just really kind of expanding our mind in that, to say, hey, I've been given something. I have and someone's in need of it. And the people who are in need of the value will take advantage of it, but they can only take advantage if I get in front of them and I extend and talk about what I have and how I can help. And if we look at it in that way and not put a lot of stipulations on it, I think, that definitely helps us to keep going in this time.
I think that's certainly a healthier way to look at it. And I think that probably would help a lot of people overcome some of the anxiety that they have around success. So what I'd like to talk to you about is I'd like to learn more about the Amazing Women Network that you've put together. Can you tell us a little bit about that what goes on, because I know it's certainly made a big difference in the lives of a lot of female entrepreneurs. So I'd like you to share a little about that organization and what you're doing there.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Amazing Women Network, the mission is to help women to be, do, and have all that they were created for. And so the vision is to create a community. We are, it's a company that provides personal and professional development services to women through one-on-one coaching, through facilitation of workshops, and a variety of different mediums. And the vision is for women to be able to give themselves permission to really be and do what they feel really called to. And that comes out of my own personal story. For so long that I got married and had children, and I did all the things. I checked all the blocks and all the things I felt that I was supposed to do as a woman. And I wanted to do those things. And there were other things that I wanted to do. And I really struggled between, well, should I be doing this? Can I do it? If I'm married with children, can I do that too? And who am I to do that too? And is it fair for me to do that too? And I worked through all of that and realized, no, I can be a career woman, a business woman, and have a family. It's not always perfect. There are choices to make. There are things to always work out. And there is the balance to continue to strive for. I don't believe in perfect balance. But so I really want to help women to do that, to really not to feel that they need to make those choices. I can only have one or the other. But how can I have both and do that in a way that respects and that who I am and who I want to become, and also be that example to their families that, hey, their children, you can do anything that you put your mind to, and I think that that's another sense of responsibility that I ended up having. I had to reframe change my mindset around it. Like, wait, I don't want to not do this because I have children, but because I have children, I want to do what I feel passionate about so that they know that they can do the same.
And I think that's so important and so, I think inspiring and motivating. And I guess the way that you look at it is that it's not necessarily a compromise. It's actually, you're kind of going above and beyond, and you're demonstrating to your family, potential and possibilities. And what I see you as is that person that opens up the potentials and possibilities for a lot of women who feel there is, something that's holding them back, unnecessarily. So do you feel that that's part of a breakthrough that a lot of women have is no, what I'm doing is not a compromise with my family. It's not shortchanging my family. I'm actually, benefiting and bettering my family life by doing this.
Yeah. So many women, we, in that struggle, like you said, I think, we are a product of our society and what's expected of women and what's expected of men and all of that. And I see myself as that, that catalyst into helping women to think a little bit differently, and this is, no matter what choice we make, there are going to be some struggles, some drawbacks. There's always going to be something. And I think it's just about being intentional about those choices and while you're making them. And I think we've always been in this situation as a society where women who stay at home, judge women who work, and women who work judge women who stay at home. And I just really want to help women to make the choices that are true to themselves and be okay with that. And know that, hey, if you're making this choice and it feels right for you and your family, then it's right. And if you're that woman who has a passion to do something outside the home, do something bigger than yourself, then that's okay. And not only is it okay, but it can actually be a benefit to your family when you do that. And I definitely see that struggle, and I really help women. I've helped women and continue to inspire women to not be afraid to make those choices, and don't do anything because you think someone else is going to judge you for it. I think we are, it's a bigger problem if we sit on our dreams and our passion and we live in a life of regret, and we think, oh, well, my children, may not appreciate me doing this, or, we're living for everybody else. And I'm excited about, like I said, being that example for my children, to say, wow, my mom did it, and I know that I can do it too. Because we tell our kids this all the time: you can do anything you put your mind to. And what I thought, the revelation that I received was, well, I'm telling my kids that, but I'm sitting on my own dreams. Then how are they going to know it's true? Because they're with me every single day. They may not ever meet Oprah, or they may not ever meet any of these celebrities, but they're with me every single day.
Well, so. I think that sets a lot. And not only your example for your kids, your example for, I think, any women that struggles with these kind of conflicts. And one thing I did want to bring up is I think, any woman that's listening to this that resonates with what we've been talking about, that they definitely need to check out your book, Who Stole My Significance? Because, you talk a lot about this, and you even go kind of deeper into some of the struggles that we've talked about today. Can you talk a little bit about, what went into that book and some of the things that women can take from that book? Because it really is, I think, a condensed education and learning about, these struggles and overcoming these struggles, and how you did that.
Right. Yeah. So, Who Stole My Significance is a book where I talk about my journey of self-awareness, of finding my voice, and being able to, break out of other people's expectations of me and really doing what I felt passionate about. And I outline different things. I talk about imposter syndrome in the book. I talk about the power of no in the book as well. And I talk about using your voice. And I even talk about the struggles of sacrifice, how women are expected to sacrifice everything for other people, and how I want to change that. And so in the book, I just outline my own struggles, my own successes, and I'm a person that I always like to give people something to go away with. So at the end of each chapter, there are affirmations, there are reflection questions, and action steps, because my goal is not for you to just learn about me, but to take away something and how you can apply some of my lessons to the reader, apply it to their lives, and how they can incorporate it into whatever they want to do. So that is really the goal of the book, is to inspire other women that may have some of the same struggles. And I've been really encouraged. The women that have read it have felt like they've said, wow, I feel like you're talking directly to me. And that's been really encouraging, because that's really what I wanted. I wanted for women to read this book and think, wow, she understands me. And so that they can do whatever feels right for them. So that's the goal of the book.
Well, I think you've met that goal with what you put in there, and you certainly are an inspiration to so many women, and truly an influencer. How can people find out more about Bonita Owens and Amazing Women Network and how to get involved?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, amazingwomennetwork.com, and you can find out more about me there. And also, if you're a solopreneur transitioning to a CEO and want to have a conversation, which I call my CEO breakthrough session, complimentary, you can sign up there as well. And there'll be information also about how to order the book, which is offered on Amazon. And I definitely also want to offer the listeners a free gift. It's my 5-minute guide to amazing self-talk. And, a lot of what we do is, like I alluded to earlier, the stories we tell ourselves and the thoughts that we rehearse that tends to hold us back. So in order to get that guide, you could go to bit.ly/good self-talk. It's all lowercase, bit.ly/good self-talk.
Oh, fantastic. Bonita, I have to thank you for coming on today, sharing this information. I think it's going to make a big difference in a lot of people's lives. And I think it's going to be that motivator that gets them past some of those mental blocks that they have as they grow their business and know that it is possible to let go and go from solopreneur to CEO. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. My pleasure as well. I appreciate it.
All right, folks, there you have it. Definitely check out Bonita Owens. Check out AmazingWomenNetwork.com. And until next time on Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only real game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today.